This is the regular meeting of our monthly meeting of our Stratford Town Council. Welcome everybody in the room and watching online and on the recording. So just want to acknowledge that the land upon which we gather is the traditional territory of the Mi'kmaq, and we pay our respects to the Indigenous Mi'kmaq people of this territory, past, present, and future. Our second item on the agenda is a declaration of conflict of interest. So if anyone has a conflict of interest on any of the items that we're going to be covering here tonight, please declare so now. So,
Your Honor, Your Worship.
3 years.
Yeah. I have a conflict of interest on the 14, I think it's 14, with the Concord properties here, 12C and 12D. And I'll leave the room when that comes up.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else? Any other conflicts of interest? Okay, we'll move on to approval of the agenda. Just if you had a chance to look at the agenda, are there any items that you would like to change the order of, or any additions or deletions that you'd like to suggest to the agenda?
So, Mr. Mayor, just very tentatively, I was just speaking with some of the planning staff. They're still actually working on inputting some of their potential resolutions and some amendments to those. It may be that I might ask for the infrastructure section to be called before the planning section, just to give them some more time, if that's possible.
It's absolutely possible. Do you want to change the order now?
If that's okay, just to give them a little bit more time.
Okay, so we'll change the order of planning development number 12. We'll swap that with say number 15. Is that
Sure.
good?
That's fine with me, and I
Yeah.
appreciate that. Yeah.
So we'll move sustainability up to 12, and we'll put planning as number 15.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay. So if there's no other changes, can we, I'll entertain a motion for approval of the agenda as amended. Moved by Councillor Jackson. Second, thank you. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody against? Motion carried. Okay, the minutes of the regular monthly meeting of February 8th, 2023 are in your package. If you've had a chance to look at those, are there any additions or deletions, anything that was any mistakes or anything that anyone would like to see changed with regard to those minutes or clarified? If not, I'll entertain a motion for approval of the minutes.
That's a move.
Thank you. Second, thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those against? Motion carried. Business arising from the minutes. Are there any items in there that we won't be covering in tonight's agenda? Anything anyone would like to follow up on from our last meeting that we won't be speaking about tonight?
No.
Okay, we'll now move on to, and I believe our CAO has stepped out for a second. I'll ask the Deputy CAO if there's any presentations from the floor. No? Okay. My report is in your package. I'll just cover a few highlights. First of all, I want to thank my Deputy Mayor, Councillor Gallant, Deputy Mayor Gallant, for chairing the last part of the last regular meeting of our Town Council, and thanks for doing that. I was in Ottawa to accept, along with Councillor Cox and Sustainability Coordinator, the previous Sustainability Coordinator, Katie Saunier, to accept an award on behalf of the town for the Switch program. It was FCM national recognition for our success, along with Charlottetown and Wolfville, in converting a significant number of homes to be more energy efficient through energy saving retrofits. So I think that was a great thing for the town, and at the conference I learned a lot, and I think we made a lot of good contacts, so I think it was worthwhile to go there. Over the past couple of weeks, I've really had the great pleasure of attending several Canada Games sporting and cultural events, and I was very honored to present medals at the gymnastics competition. The Norton Soccer Complex hosted the gymnastics competition, and it was world class. It was really first rate. It was just a great venue, great, well organized. Credit to all the. I know that Jeremy Pierce, your father and brother, were instrumental in, and I imagine yourself as well, were instrumental in helping put that on. But it was a very great success, and just amazing to see those young athletes, the level of competition, and I got to see pretty well every event, but it was excellent. We also met along with CEO Crosby, and were you at the meeting as well, Councillor Chandler, with the individual that wants to create a makerspace in Stratford for artisans, an artisan learning center. So we're still waiting for some more information on that to go further with that. One of the things that I think we're really lucky to have is a great former NHLer, Billy McMillan, who won the cup and thanks to Deputy Mayor Gallant, I got invited to that, to a surprise birthday party for him for his 80th birthday, and I had the pleasure of wishing him a happy birthday, and I put it on social media, and I think I got 30,000 views or something like that. So yeah, it was retweeted by Doug McLean and a couple of others. So so it's great to have Billy McMillan, an NHLer of that caliber, in our town. So.
Billy had the property here years ago with the Clydesdales and did the snow rides or sleigh rides there.
Yeah.
So he lived there, yeah. He's,
Down where.
He speaks highly of Stratford. He's looking at dropping the puck, that new arena we're looking at.
That'd be great. That'd be just great. Yeah. And we a number of councillors and staff and myself received a briefing on the community energy plan and the success that we're having in the sustainability area by Ashton Dudley, who did a lot of really good work, and Maddie Crowell, and who did a lot, and Katie Sonia, who also has done in the past a lot of good work on this file to really measure our reduction in emissions and some of the going forward things that we need to consider if we want to maintain our success and in reducing emissions. I've been really busy with the FCM Atlantic Regional Caucus, Municipal Finance and Intergovernmental Arrangements Committee. FCM in general has been, there's been a lot going on, and I think it's a really good area to be involved in, because you learn a lot, and it's also something that is, it's good to have the town's name out there in terms of whenever we apply for funding or whatever. It's good to have those contacts. One of the other highlights is with CA Crosby. I attended a housing roundtable of PEI mayors, planners, and CAOs. It was convened by Housing Minister McKay and Finance Minister McLean, and I think it's really a sign that we're really being successful in partnering with the province and other municipalities in terms of our attempts to really solve some of the housing issues that are out there. The CAO and myself met with Capital Areas Mayor Brown and McCourt and former MP Wayne Easter and local, I guess you would call her local advocate for guaranteed annual income to discuss that, she was looking for municipal support for a guaranteed annual income. We had some questions. We're still waiting for some information to come back, and we'll be discussing that at a future meeting of Committee of the Whole. Really want to compliment the rec department and the chair, Councillor Chandler of the Recreation Committee for the Winterfest. It was a great success, and a lot of young families, and everyone really enjoyed it. It was really well attended. It was on Islander Day, and I think that's a great Stratford tradition to have that event on Islander Day. Yeah, so that's my report. Any questions or comments? Okay, if not, move to CAO report. Oh, welcome, Councillor Cox. Sorry, we just covered the minutes, and I just gave my report. So.
I know what I think you know I was gonna be late.
Oh, sorry, I didn't have my email open here. That's okay.
You're here.
No, I guess I
I
didn't.
sent you a text.
Oh, a text. Okay, I'm sorry.
I was just,
No problem. Yeah, no problem.
Okay.
Yep.
So my packet, or the report is in your package, Worship, but I'll just go over a few highlights, and if there's any questions, I'll try to answer them. Conducted an interview with CBC regarding our water tower. I just wanted to get some information on the need for the water tower and the cost, and just, talked about the expansion of the town and being prepared for future development that's going to occur, so that went well. That was with CBC. Attended the Shape Stratford Intermunicipal Committee and Affordable Housing Task Force Planning Day session. That was a really good day of, talking with other municipalities and seeing all the great work that's been done with that group so far. So that Shape Stratford project is really coming along nicely, and got to look at the website now and how that's going to work in the future with developers and residents and others, and it's really looking well, and we're getting some comments back on that, and we're going to continue to tweak that. Myself and the Deputy CAO attended a meeting with Trevor Jane regarding the potential to set up a community emergency response team in Stratford, so we're moving along with that, and a lot of good information there, and we're hopeful that we'll be able to bring something to council before the end of the year. Attended the Maritime Electric Sustainability Summit. A lot of people in the auditorium for that, and interesting to see what Maritime Electric is doing to advance their sustainability approach. And there is an opportunity for us to have a sustainability scorecard through their operations, which we are going to look into. I mentioned that with Maddie and Katie to look into that further, so it may be something that we can have some further information on in the future. And attended a meeting with representatives from Cornwall, Charlottetown, to discuss the new cost-sharing model for the new transit facility and how that will work in the future. Charlottetown is going to own and build the building, but we'll have a lease portion for our operations in the future, so we're just trying to iron out how that's going to go. And along with the mayor and the community and business engagement manager, we participated in an interview with the Greater Charlottetown Area Chamber of Commerce regarding all the good things we're doing here in Stratford and a lot of the initiatives. So waiting to see how that comes out in the magazine, but it was the interview went well, I would say. And I also attended several Canada Games functions. It's really great to see that the Canada Games came off as well as they did. It was really a great event to participate in. And finally, I'd just like to thank Kim and all the senior staff and all their hard work with the budget preparations. There's been a lot of work to get us where we're going. We've had a few hiccups along the way, but I think we do have a good budget prepared there, and small surplus. So I just want to thank all the senior staff for that and all their hard work there. So any questions? Just got mentioned that should congratulate the mayor on the Queen's Diamond Jubilee also. I know that he didn't want to be recognized very much for that, but yes, that's a great achievement, so congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks.
Any questions? All right, thank you.
Okay, we'll move on. Safety Services. I'll ask Councillor Jody Jackson, Chair of that committee, to give his report.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'll start off with summary of our Safety Services meeting of February 21st. The minutes are in your package, but I'll give some highlights here. So we started out with a report from our fire company, kind of standard number of calls, mostly, again, attendance of motor vehicle collisions. But we did hear a little bit about our fire company being asked to assist with lifts with Island EMS, and I think it's great that we're able to do that. We just have to keep an eye maybe on the number of folks that are called out. It's really hard, I guess, to kind of only send the call out to a few folks, but it is a costly endeavor to send all those folks out with their call out amount and mileage. So again, great that we can provide that service, complement Island EMS's service, but just something to keep an eye on. It just goes to show how much we ask of our first responders, especially our firefighters. So just something to think about there. We received a report from RCMP report from Corporal Weatherby, who was here. We discussed the calls for the month and a little bit of a background on the capture program around attempts to look at a program to use cameras around the community to help with crime prevention and things like that. So that, for various reasons, I guess that didn't really kind of get too far, but we've discussed and set up a meeting with Chief McConnell, and I think a number of the councillors and Corporal Weatherby attended on February 23rd with the Chief McConnell in Charlottetown, a demonstration of the E-Watch program, and Deputy Mayor chime in any point here as well, but it was a great demonstration of the capabilities of that system. We heard kind of firsthand what an important tool it is in visibility crime prevention, but also in the event that you need to go back and look for evidence. And I know, I believe Corporal Weatherby did say it's been beneficial to the RCMP as well when it's been used. So, you know, we're hoping to look into that as soon as possible. I think it's a great idea if we can do it in conjunction with the business community and try to determine how we move forward with that. Deputy Mayor, any comments on that?
No, it's great. We had a great meeting with myself and the CO Jeremy Crosby and Deputy CO Jeremy Pierce and Corporal Weatherby, and it's great presentation by Chief McConnell or Charlottetown City Police. But they're doing the same system up in Summerside, and that's why I sort of jumped on it at Summerside, and Kensington didn't have the system, right? So we're just in the early stages of it, and sort of it's a cost share there with the community, the corporate community. So we're just we're moving forward there.
Yeah, it's a great idea. Hope, so stay tuned on that one. We're going to continue to look at that into the future here. We had an update on lighting. So the committee, the Safety Service Committee, recommended amendments to the streetlight policy with respect to the town's contribution around installation of lantern-style lighting. We had an update on some concerns around Kinloch Beach, around activities at nighttime. We're going to continue to monitor that, and we have, we're grateful for increased patrols from the RCMP. We're going to just continue to monitor that and come back in June to see if there's issues persist with a lot of nighttime activity there, and then go from there and see if other measures need to be taken. Lastly, on the safety services, we did discuss an item around concerns from residents around feeding wildlife. So there's been, in the fall, during the election campaign, and even since, there's been some concerns from the community around folks feeding wildlife, skunks and foxes and even rodents. Now, that's not really covered in our bylaws. So if any residents out there have any issues with this, we would suggest you address your complaints to the Department of Fish and Wildlife. We're going to continue to monitor and see what other communities do in this regard. And we're going to try, I think, Wendy, we're going to include some information in the newsletter, just to remind folks that while you think you're doing a great thing, it's not in the best interests of your neighbors, your own community, to be feeding these wild animals and taking them out of their natural habitat. So that's the wrap up of the Safety Services meeting. We do have the RCMP report in your package, and Corporal Weatherby is here. Corporal Weatherby, I don't know if you want to speak to anything in this report. Let me see here. So we just kind of a number of collisions as well that were responded to by the RCMP and by our fire company. See the one thing in here, Firearm Act reports, somewhat concerning, but I know these were well handled, but something that just kind of stood out for me. And wondering, Corporal, if you have any update you can share on the can throwing. And I know there may be some movement there, but if there's anything you can on the cans, if there's anything you can share with that. The pop cans.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Pepsi can.
Yes, as far as you see, for mischiefs, in regard to, it's a low number of 4. It's actually around the 11 area for February 2023. And most of this is all related to the Pepsi can throwing for moving vehicles. We recently, 3 nights ago, there was actually another incident where the victim actually followed them out to the Kings County area. They were back together. Both had been spoken to at that point. We were gathering further information and statements. The 2 individuals were arrested that night. They've since been arrested, released on conditions, no contact with each other, and to abide by curfews. The vehicle was impounded that was used. This was 3 nights ago. They were released currently right now. It's 1 count of mischief each, but we'll be planning on adding about 11 more counts each to this matter. Like I said, they're both on curfews, so they will be checked on regularly with the RCMP, and right now that's the update on that. The information isn't laid yet, so as far as that,
Understood.
yeah.
It's so important to Corporal Weatherby, I guess, to solve by video. With video.
Video surveillance from the Petro-Canada
Yeah.
area and a local business actually
Yeah.
helped basically helped us to get a clear detail of the vehicle, and then it went from there through another RCMP officer who recognized some distinguishing issues with it, and there was also some public help as well.
Yep, oh, yeah.
Which is great.
Great.
And so, and we're still opening the floor to further complaints from this regarding this incident as well, so.
Yeah, and I would like to, on behalf of all of us, pass on our thanks to the RCMP and for those businesses who did help out. This was a serious, could have been very serious if someone had been hurt. Now, property damage is one thing, but people doing a highway speed and getting something projectile thrown at them. Thank you again for finding a quick resolution of this and following up, and hopefully the folks involved learn a lesson here, and that's not behavior we want to tolerate in this community at all. Any questions for Corporal Weatherby? I know I just kind of glossed over the report, or anything else, Corporal Weatherby, you'd like to share? Again, does speak to the...
For the month, I guess for the summary offense tickets, for the month of February 2023, there was a total of 29 summary offense tickets, violation tickets that were issued in the amount of $5,290 just for the month of February, as well as warning violations, which is more on the educational side of the Highway Traffic Act, which we had 17 warnings were also provided.
Yep. Great. Anyone have any questions for Corporal Weatherby?
I know that there was an issue raised by Councillor Chandler about the years previous, and has that been addressed, Councillor Chandler? Is the information now what you need?
Hi, Corporal Weatherby. I think in one of the meetings, I had noticed the reporting is, the way the reports are coming is not necessarily the same month over month, or maybe year over year. And I guess I was wondering if there is an opportunity to move to kind of a standard way that this monthly report comes in, and that maybe there's a way that even visually, like a comparison, month over month or year over year. So maybe we could kind of understand or assess any trends or shifts or changes, sort of thing.
Yes, Councillor Chandler. We're more than willing to open up for discussion on that. If, I understand there's the report for February to February of last year and the year prior. There is a report on that. Is that what you were
There is.
referencing?
Yeah, I think it, and forgive me, it's probably because I'm new, but it seems like this, like, visually looks different each time. And just if there was some sort of standard way to report, and way that I could see, like, just quick references, like month over month, or even like just kind of tickets compared monthly or yearly. But I can clarify my question and speak with you a little later, if that's better.
That's perfectly fine.
Okay.
Councillor. And I do believe I do have a spreadsheet here which details that. I don't believe that was sent this time,
Okay.
this month.
Yeah, no,
I can show it to you.
Okay.
that's the issue, yeah.
And maybe even that could come in the agenda package or something. Yeah, okay. Thank you.
You're welcome, Councillor.
All right, thank you, Corporal Weathery. And again, to that can throwing matter, that does speak to the importance of these cameras that are established in the businesses right now, but it does kind of help make our case for exploring further with the e-watch idea. Thank you.
Welcome.
If there's no other questions on that, we'll move on quickly to the Humane Society report.
I'd just like to thank Corporal Weatherby for attending tonight. I forgot to welcome you, and just want to thank you for being here and wish you well. Thanks for keeping us all safe, and
Yes.
all the best.
Thank you. Yes, so as I was saying, the Humane Society report is in your package, fairly standard, not too much on the way of any change there. So if there's no questions on that, I will move on to our transit. Any questions on the Humane Society? Nope. On the transit, the numbers do remain strong, so we're hopeful that they will continue to stay there, and we do have later on in our agenda, there's amendments to our transit service agreement that'll be under agenda, further on the agenda, that'll talk about help add some clarity around financial reporting, improve communication, and some additional, adding some years on our agreement. So not too much more with the transit right there, unless anyone has anything to add, CAO or your worship, anything on, I guess we'll wait and see. Hopefully transit remains top of mind for, in the provincial campaign, and that I think that we're pretty clear here that we're good users of the system, and we would appreciate any expansion that is available. Jeremy, CIO?
We did have a capital area transit meeting today, and there was some more discussion about the transit subsidy and additional routes. So I think there is money coming to us, and we just, with our conversation with Charlottetown and Cornwall, there is going to be a little more distribution for additional routes. So looking at mid-morning and mid-afternoon and an evening run. So we're going to be setting up a meeting with the transit operator to discuss that further. So I'm going to set that up for next week with Cornwall and ourselves to look at the evening run, because we may have to share that a little more to make it feasible. So looks like there is some favorable discussion towards expanding the service.
Great, thank you. Thanks for that. If there's no questions on the transit, like I said, there will be an item later on the agenda. The last item in my report is the reports from the Crossroad Fire Company. So you see the calls in your package there from February, 15 calls in February, majority of them again are in Stratford, and a high number of those are motor vehicle accidents and medical first response. So just on that, my first meeting on the fire company board was just on Monday night, March 6th, and I look forward to getting up to speed on that. And it was great to meet some of the members of the committee, and our new member was in place for that meeting as well. So it was great to finally get to meet with that board. So not really much more on that. I did mention the assist with the Island EMS, so we'll keep an eye on that. Just it's not a everyday thing for our fire company, but it is something that they're called on periodically, and it is great that they can do that to assist where necessary. And again, thanks to our fire company and our RCMP and all the folks for keeping us safe. That's my report, Your Worship, unless anyone has any questions. I know it's kind of a light report tonight, but any
That's okay.
questions?
Just, does anyone else have any questions? Just a quick addition, I guess. I was at that meeting, and I guess I'm not shown in the minutes, and that's true for a couple of other committees as well. So I just wanted to make sure that I could be included in the minutes.
Yes.
Second thing is, I wonder about the next steps for the E-Watch. What is there a next step mapped out?
I will defer to Deputy Mayor here, but I know we are very eager to see this move forward. In speaking with the chief in Charlottetown, I know that it is something that needs to be done in conjunction with the business community. I know there are some privately funded cameras that are already in place in the community, and I know the chief did say that it's once information is shared, it's a lot of people do come on board pretty quickly. So I guess it really, we're going to continue to look at it. I don't think it's a long lead time. If the budget was there, I think we have to look at our budget, and also maybe get out and talk to the business community sooner on that. It would be nice, just seeing the demonstration. It is extremely valuable in a prevention standpoint, in a potential for looking back and investigations, but I think it's something we need to do. We have a good relationship with the city. I know they have a good relationship with Summerside and Kensington, and they all use the system, and I think it would easily translate well, and I know Corporal Weatherby did say it would be something very beneficial to our RCMP in the town. So I think as soon as we can, I'd like to see us move forward as quickly as we can with money that we have available. So we'll have more discussions on that, Your Worship.
Okay, thank you. Thanks. Okay, any other comments or questions? Thank you for your report. Thanks for your report. Okay, we'll move on to Recreation, Culture, and Events. I'll ask Chair of that committee, Councillor Chandler, to give her report.
Okay, thank you so much, Worship. This is just an overview of the full report that's included in your agenda package. As far as our committees go, our Recreation, Culture, and Events Committee met yesterday for the first time, and our Arts and Culture Subcommittee is set to meet tomorrow for the first time. In regards to our arts and culture classes and programming, there was a break during the Canada Games, and all regular scheduled programming resumed on Monday. As the Mayor mentioned, Winterfest was held between February 18th and 20th. The event included a flea market and fun fair at the Town Centre Gym. The event was extremely well attended, with approximately 1,000+ people attending each day. I was here. I can assure you it felt like there were 1,000 people here. Additionally, I wanted to highlight that 30 youth members volunteered over those 3 days, and it was exceptionally well run and really well attended. Wanted to highlight the art installation that is currently been installed in the recreation area. It comes to us from Birchwood Intermediate School Art Smart Program. The piece was created by 135 students at Birchwood School who are residents of Stratford. The town supported this Art Smart program by loaning art equipment, tools, and supplies. The piece will eventually be part of the Art Smart exhibition at the Confederation Centre Gallery in May before its permanent installation back at Birchwood School. And For any of you that were around today, you may have noticed many grade 8 students from Birchwood came to view the installation here at the town center, and I think more are expected tomorrow. An update in regards to the Stratford Youth Center and Council. The Youth Center restructured its leadership program this year. The new program, called the Leadership Club, started at the beginning of February and will focus on teaching youth members leadership skills through regular bi-weekly meetings and organizing fundraisers and events. The club, which is open to youth members in grade 6 through 11, has set a goal to fundraise towards a 7-day leadership tour in Quebec City, Ottawa, Toronto, and Montreal in the summer of 2024. And more details on that initiative can be found in your agenda package. I wanted to also update you that Dwayne Pino is currently working to coordinate a time when our council members can meet with members of the Youth Council and tour the facility. The Youth Center hosted 2 weeks of special programming and events over the Canada Games break, offering extended drop-in times and a broad range of activities. The Youth Center had, as mentioned previously, 2 youth members that participated in the Canada Games. Daniel McLeod, a grade 11 student from Mermaid, participated in fencing, and Mara Duncan, grade 6 from Stratford, represented Team New Brunswick in wheelchair basketball. Additionally, a former member of our Youth Center, Julia Trainer, of grade 6 of Stratford, also participated on Team New Brunswick in the wheelchair basketball. The Youth Center organized day trips to cheer on these athletes throughout their competitions. Youth Center Leadership Club will be participating in the annual walkathon on March 24th and 25th. Further details on this event can be found in your agenda package. And the Youth Center Drama Program has started the rehearsal process in working towards its production in May. The program currently has 12 youth members participating. As far as our programming goes, registration is now open for spring art programs, and registration for spring recreation programs will open in early April. The Town Center Gymnasium continues to operate at nearly full capacity with its programming alone. Stratford Skills and Drills program ends on March 25th, and as noted previously, the program has been full with 30 participants. In regards to our outdoor winter activities, as we know, this winter's weather has been less than ideal for outdoor activities. Although Pondside did run its 2 skating rinks since early January, they have since closed this past weekend. Trails have been cleared and/or groomed, depending on weather conditions. As far as looking ahead to the spring, the town is planning its spring and summer activities now, and the town will be preparing parks, sport fields, and trails as warmer weather comes about. As the mayor had mentioned, I too got to participate in several of the Canada Games activities and had the honor of presenting medals at the gymnastics event, and it was really, really well done. And I was honored to be a part of it and watch the athletes and support local athletes. And I, throughout the Canada Games, really recognized the important role that volunteers played in implementing and executing that event. And with that, I wanted to recognize that Jeremy Pierce, Tanya Craig, Rachel Arsenault, Carter Livingston, and fellow council member Jody Jackson were volunteers during the Canada Games. And I want to thank you guys for leading by example and for your continued commitment to building community and connections. So thank you. And finally, I wanted to recognize that today is International Women's Day, which is a day that is recognized globally. Yes, it is. To celebrate the social, economic, cultural, and political achievements of women while also raising awareness on issues such as gender equality and more. So tonight in this room, I want to recognize the women staff members that are here. Thank you for all you do. You guys play such a significant role. And as the only woman on this council, and very new, I would like to say thank you to those who've gone before me, thanks to those who continue to serve in all levels of government, and a huge shout out to all the women who have put their names forward in running in the upcoming provincial election. Thank you.
I want to add my thanks to all the women that are helping us with this town and all the achievements and all their contributions. We would be totally lost without them, and I don't know where we'd be without the contributions of women. It's just incredible. So all really highly professional, and it's just really amazing to see how much achievement there is by women and how much contribution there is to our town and to our society and to our province, to our country. I think it's, as I said, it's just impossible to think of where we'd be without them, without you.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions?
I do, Your Worship, and I do want to thank the councillor for her contribution and all that she does, and just an amazing perspective that I've learned a lot from you in the last few months that we've been here, and I appreciate everything that you do, and my wife as well at home who allows me to take part in council and in the community events, and just, yeah, I don't know where I'd be without her either, so I appreciate that. I do have a question though, and for our staff. I mean, we have amazing staff here, and you know, we are very fortunate. I know it's no secret we've received awards on that, but people don't really realize the work that goes into putting these packages together, the day-to-day business of the town. It's terrific, and came with the budget. Like that's an amazing amount of work that you try to keep straight, and dealing with a bunch of new councillors and some of us that weren't, you know, been around before but not that bright. So I appreciate your patience, all of you. I do have a question though, and I was approached by a member of the Kinsmen wondering if the town was doing anything around Easter. They were thinking of potentially doing an Easter egg hunt around the town hall or at Cotton Centre. So I'm not sure if there's, Jeremy, if there's anything planned or if there's something that might be potential.
We don't currently have anything planned for Easter, but we would welcome, or always welcoming new ideas or suggestions. So if you would like, you can direct them either to myself or Tanya Craig, and we would work on possible logistics.
Will do, thank you.
Any other comments or questions?
Just a comment, Your Worship, just from what I've seen and heard in relation to the Stratford Youth Centre and Council. It's a real gem for our community. It's a great opportunity for our residents' children to become involved and develop leadership skills and all other types of activities, develop friendships. It's just a phenomenal organization. I understand we are going to have the opportunity to tour and get a little bit more of a hands-on view, and I look forward to that. But I'm very glad that it is within the community, and we're very fortunate to have that organization and the people who manage and run that organization. It's a very great benefit to all of our residents.
I'd like to thank Jeremy and Jill for recognizing the problem there at Ward 3, the Bunbury Rink. And we know we had with the climate, the way the climate changes, and this year, like you say, Pondside had a couple of weeks, and we had none over in Bunbury. But this year's budget, we're looking at purchasing a liner, and hopefully it'll help us along the way. But it's just up to Mother's Nature, right? It's just one of those. But we definitely, everybody was talking. We're working on it, you know. But anyways, I want to thank Jill and Jeremy there from the Recreation and co-chair, Mr. Cox.
Okay, if there's nothing else, I just want to congratulate Lucas McDonald, who won PEI's first medal this year in silver in over 81 kilogram judo, and Stratford resident. I think it's really great. We also had, as you mentioned, the youth center, young McLeod. What's his first name?
Daniel?
Daniel McLeod, who in fencing, you know, who really acquitted himself well. Went to the fencing, and I saw that competition. They were in pretty tough with some of the larger, larger provinces, but he really did well. And so we should be proud of all our Stratford competitors in the Canada Games, because the level of competition was way above what I ever imagined it would be. It was incredible. So. Yeah, so we should maybe do something in the future, and we can talk about that offline, about something we can do to recognize our Canada Games athletes from Stratford.
Yeah, that'd be a great idea.
So we'll have a discussion about that maybe at a later date.
Yes.
So Thank you.
Thanks.
Any other comments or questions? Okay, thank you for your report. We'll move now to Finance and Technology. I'll ask the chair of that committee, Ron Dowling, to give his report. Councillor Ron Dowling.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'll provide a quick review of a few items that the Director of Finance and Technology and other staff members are and have been working on since our last meeting, and a lot of these are ongoing matters that have been going on for several months and will continue to go on for several months into the future. But staff attended sustainable procurement presentation with Reeve Consulting, as well as Finance and Sustainability Committee meetings. They attended revenue sharing meeting with the province and other municipalities, and interviewed candidates for the financial coordinator position. And a candidate has been selected, and with the start date of March 20th. So it's great to have that financial coordinator position filled. That would enable the director to have a little bit of alleviation in relation to her duties, and she'll be able to focus on her regular duties with that, although there will be a significant training period with the new coordinator. But after that, hopefully things will continue to run. They run very well now, but certainly with the coordinator, it'll be that much better. And it is needed, and I'm glad to see the position has been filled. Work continues on Fiona disaster claims and with insurance adjusters on the Fiona damaged to town properties. And I understand we are looking at amending, or in the process of amending, our disaster relief funding request in relation to the province. So that work is still underway, and it's very detailed and time consuming, but we are getting there. The municipal capital expenditure grant for 2021-22 was submitted to the province, so we're waiting on that. And staff continues to review assets to see which assets are completed in the current year, and which ones are underway, and which ones will, in accordance with the budget, will be worked on further down the line. And they continue to work on government claims for current capital projects as well. So our capital projects oftentimes are very much dependent upon other orders of government's contribution. And staff do a great job in sorting out revenue sources in that respect. They continue to gather information to finalize payroll data for the annual T4 preparation. It's one of those things that come up every year and has to be done, and it's very complex and time consuming as well. So staff remain busy with a variety of other day-to-day activities as well, Your Worship. And the 2023-24 draft budget presentation was held this past Monday, March 6th, and the opportunity for further input from residents prior to final approval by council is available until noontime on March 14th, and staff members will then prepare the draft budget for the council approval. And the final version of the budget will be presented to council with a resolution to pass at a special meeting of council to be held on March 22nd, 2023. And I want to join our CAO in thanking all of our staff for their diligent work over the past couple of months in preparation for the draft budget. It is a very difficult and time-consuming process to make everything fit within all of the desires and demands and essential requirements and wishes and wants of council and community members. And you know, it's not an easy task, but you know, our director and CAO and all the other directors and all of the staff pulled together as they usually do, or always do every year, and got it done. So we're awaiting any feedback from the public, and then we'll present it to council. And I think it's a very good budget. It's a fair budget. It's responsible fiscally, and you know, Stratford remains to be in very good shape financially. And that's in large part thanks to the diligent work of our CAO and all of his staff. So, otherwise, Your Worship, the Finance and Technology Committee meetings from February 15th, 2023 with budget information attached have been circulated to members of council previously. So if anyone has any questions in relation to the finance report or in relation to the minutes and budget attachment that has been circulated, we'd be happy to address those.
I just want to congratulate you, Councillor Dowling, and the Director of Finance, Kim O'Connell, and her staff, and all, and our CAO, all members of council, and the director, the management team for putting this budget together, this draft budget together, and the approach that's being used, I think, is very responsible. It's very engaging. It gets input from, gives an opportunity for input to residents to comment, to tell us what, if there's things that are missing or the things that they would like to see in the budget that aren't there, or things that they think we're spending money on that we shouldn't be spending money on, or anything like that. So I just want to congratulate you all on a great job, and look forward to seeing the final version for presentation, as you said, on the 22nd. Is it Councillor Dowling? March
Yes,
22nd?
22nd will be a special meeting of council in relation to presentation of the budget. We did do the draft budget presentation to the public, as you were aware, this past Monday.
Yeah, no, you did a great job in presenting the budget and answering the questions, and yeah, so I look forward to having a final product in the near future, and I encourage all residents to really have a look at that document and really get their comments in by next Tuesday, the 14th?
Tuesday at noon.
Tuesday at noon, yeah. So please have a look at that, and hopefully if you see anything that's missing, or anything you have an issue with, or whatever, if you have any input at all, just please provide it by Tuesday, this coming Tuesday at noon hour.
And Your Worship, I believe the draft budget, along with other the draft budget presentation and other items, are available online. And there is, Director O'Connell, is it a draft survey on the draft budget that people can look at and provide their input through? So look for the draft budget, please, and have a review, and engage with your thoughts in relation to the survey, so that we can take that into consideration in our final assessment.
So it's on the website and it's on social media, is that correct? Yeah, that's great. So hopefully everybody will be able to have a look at that before next Tuesday.
Thank you, Your Worship. The financial statements, town income statement and the utility income statement, are also attached and circulated. So again, I'll open that up for any questions, or any questions in relation to the report or the previous minutes. So if any members of council have any questions, we can address those prior to moving on to a couple of resolutions we have.
So I guess what's showing as a deficit in the town side is because we haven't received things like the Fiona disaster relief fund money that's coming to us, and that sort of thing. Yeah. And on the utility side, is there an explanation for that as well?
It's the same idea. The bills go out quarterly, so in March it'll by the end of March it'll look better, but there may be a deficit on the utility side.
Okay, thank you. So you have a couple of resolutions, Councillor?
I do, Your Worship. First is number FT 001-2023, commercial credit card line of credit increase. and it's moved by myself, whereas the Town of Stratford and Stratford Utility Corporation credit card accounts for staff are with the Royal Bank, and whereas the borrowing limits for the credit cards under short-term borrowing is $58,000 for the Town of Stratford and $30,000 for the Stratford Utility, which is within 50% of the total estimated revenue of the municipality as set out in the 2022-23 operating budget. And whereas the town has added additional staff since the changeover to RBC Avion cards back in 2019, and as a result, we need to increase the borrowing limit to $100,000 for the town of Stratford. This is allocated between the town of Stratford and Stratford Utility Corporation. And be it resolved that the commercial RBC Avion credit card line of credit limit be increased to $100,000 due to the addition of new staff from 2019 to current.
Do I have a seconder? Thank you. Discussion. I assume this was, went to the Finance and Technology Committee?
Yes, it was. I'll let the director respond.
It didn't go to the Finance Committee because it's just the credit cards that we
Housekeeping.
use. Yeah,
Okay, okay.
yeah, yeah.
I just have a couple questions.
Sure.
So I guess the first question is just in terms of a practical question.
Mm-hmm.
So RBC Avion cards, I appreciate that's the product we use. What does the town do with those Avion points? Are they allocated to anything?
Yeah, so we use them for plane tickets for counselors or staff if they do travel for the town.
Okay, great. And then secondly, I presume that there is no weakening of our controls in terms of these credit cards, and that this is merely
Yeah,
a change to allow for the day-to-day business of the town.
It's due to the fact that we've added more new staff on, and so we had to get them credit cards, but we didn't have any more room to get them town credit cards. And there is lots of controls over the credit cards. They have to submit the receipts, and it's signed off by each department manager for approval.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Okay, any other discussion? Questions, comments? Okay, I'll call for the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody against? Motion carried.
Thank you, Your Worship. The next is FT 002-2023, Council Remuneration Bylaw Amendment 36B for first reading. It's moved by myself, whereas Council would like to make a change to the payment frequency of their remuneration. Their remuneration is currently paid in quarterly installments, in accordance with Bylaw 36, Section 1, and subject to any federal and provincial deductions in the third month of each quarterly period. And whereas Council would like to change the frequency of the payments to monthly installments, be it resolved that attached bylaw number 36-B, a bylaw to amend the council remuneration bylaw number 36, be hereby read and approved the first time. And Your Worship, this resolution bears the recommendation of the Finance and Technology Committee as discussed at a meeting held on February 15th, 2023.
Thank you. Seconder?
Jill, go ahead, Jill.
Councillor Chandler, thank you. Okay, any discussion?
So I appreciate that it's in the minutes of the Finance and Technology Committee, and I just want to put it on the record in terms of our monthly council meeting here, that it's understood by all that this does not impact the amount of the compensation or remuneration to council members. It's merely the timing of receiving that. So with that in mind, and I appreciate this is only a first reading of this bylaw, I'm looking to see if we can add to the recitals on the bylaw that whereas it's understood, or some language to the effect of whereas it's understood that this does not in any way change the amount of the remuneration. I'd just like some clarity introduced into the bylaw so so that's well understood. I don't know if that's proper or not, but because we're talking about an issue surrounding remuneration, considering that there is at least perhaps a perception of a conflict there, I just want that absolutely understood, if that makes sense.
Okay, so you're proposing an amendment to the motion, so.
Well, again, it's first reading, so I don't know if it has to be for this motion, Mr. Mayor, or not. I just wanted to add it to the discussion, I guess, at this point in time.
Well, we're going to vote on the motion as it is, but if you want an amendment, you can propose the amendment, get it seconded, and then we'll vote on the amendment.
Maybe it makes sense. I just propose that the bylaw be amended to include a recital to state, whereas the total amount of remuneration is not changed in any way, shape, or form, or I'm open to some discussions on language about that.
Your worship, the CAO is at the podium, maybe
Yeah.
he has some
It
insight
could be a
in
friendly
relation to
amendment
that.
too. We could ask the mover and seconder to accept it as well and just vote on it that way and just have one vote. We could do it that way as well.
So I was just going to say, it could be a friendly amendment, just as the
Yeah.
mayor indicated, moved by yourself, and as long as it's seconded, voted on, and then we can add it to the resolution tonight, and then it'll be part of the second reading and adoption afterwards.
Okay, I'm certainly happy to proceed on that
So-
basis.
Move and friendly seconder, okay. Is that okay with the mover?
Yes, absolutely.
Seconder? Is it okay with you? Okay. So we'll vote on the motion as amended. Okay, is there any other discussion on the motion?
Your worship, I will say it's a very good point that's brought up, because sometimes whenever the word remuneration comes up, some people do tend to gravitate towards a thought contrary to what the intent was.
Yep.
So with this, there is no intent to affect the amount of remuneration. It's the timing for payment of the remuneration amounts
Yep.
to council.
Thank you. Okay, if there's no more discussion, we'll call the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody against? Motion carried. Okay. Any other, anything else you wanted to raise, Councillor Dowling?
No, Your worship, barring any questions from members of council or yourself, that will constitute my report for this month.
Okay, thank you for your report. Okay, we'll now move to sustainability. We did change, Councillor Cox, while you were, before you arrived, we changed the order of the, because the planning item wasn't prepared, or you needed some work before it could be presented, so we changed the order, putting planning down as number 15 and moving sustainability up to number 12. So, sorry for putting you on the spot. I should have mentioned that when you come in.
That's all right.
Okay, so we'll now move to item number 12, formerly 15, sustainability.
All right, thank you, Your worship. Once again, I apologize for being late today, but I don't know if there's car wasn't going on the bridge or what, but it was extremely long to get back across the bridge today, so I didn't time that correctly. So, the Sustainability Committee held a meeting last week jointly with staff, council members, and the town's Finance and Technology Committee to receive a presentation from the consultants completing the work on the town's sustainable procurement project. This information session was very helpful to better understand this project as it moves forward and steps for the coming years. The SWITCH program, as most of you know, we did receive an extra $1 million, and we were able to have another round of the SWITCH program, which was very successful in its initial launch, and it's proven to be maybe even more successful the second time. We've had a lot of people interested in receiving money from the SWITCH program. So it was great to see that, and a big shout out to both Maddie and Katie for their work on this, and also the rest of the staff who did a lot of work on the SWITCH program. Town staff continue to look at other potential programs which would assist residents in the future, and we'll talk more about that in the coming meetings, but there is other government programs that are coming to the surface that we will talk further about. Staff and council had a presentation this week of the Community Energy Plan and Greenhouse Gas Inventory Report. Staff are working now on finalizing the information and getting it out to residents in the very near future. The residential tree planting program is now open for 2023 applications. I believe this is our third time we've, am I correct saying that, third time we've had this? Yeah. And residents are encouraged to learn more and to sign up to the town's website or by contacting the town office. Last week I had the privilege of talking about this with Angela Walker on CBC Radio. I was really glad that Angela was able to do a piece on this, that the residents should really be informed, not only from the interview, but from our website, that we do have 50 trees. They are to be planted on your front yard, and you do pay $50 per tree. You dig the hole, we bring the tree to you, and we help you plant the tree. And these trees are non-invasive species, and we had those listed, which I went through in the interview. And most of the trees would be in the range of 3 to 5 years old. So pretty stable trees. So great to see that program up and running again, especially nowadays. There will be additional programs that we're hoping to bring forth that will actually help out with the trees lost to residents in the Hurricane Fiona. We're working on establishing some further programs, so stay tuned for that. The Senior Match and Exchange Program, Stratford Connects, will hold a second information session on Thursday, March the 30th at 2 p.m. For anyone interested in learning more about this recently launched program. We've had 6 participants in the last one in February, and staff look forward to seeing further use in the app in the near future. The Diversity Inclusion Committee held their first meeting in February, with staff currently working on an activity to recognize March 21st, the International Day of Elimination of Racial Discrimination. More details to come in the near future as staff work with potential community partners for this work. Katie, Sonia, myself, and Mayor Steve Ogden, actually, we're in Ottawa in the February 6th to 11th. Our last town meeting, we were actually absent from the meeting because we were away during that time. But I just wanted to add just a quick note about that conference. It was a very great conference that was held in Ottawa. It dealt with resilience, sustainability, reaching net zero, geothermal, electricity as a stable source, solar panels, wind sources, etc. We got to see management of waste plant in Gatineau. We got to see how some islands are net zero and how they reached that. We also got to talk to face-to-face with people such as Julian Boyle, who was the administrative director for the Switch program. So overall, I felt the conference was a great success. Finally, the outdoor rinks on Morris Pond have not been able to be created this year for the first time in my 28 years of volunteering at the pond. Although not sponsored or organized by the town, it has been a very busy outdoor skating venue for many decades in what is now the town of Stratford. There is a $436,500 dredging cleanup and refocusing for this pond scheduled for this July. It was supposed to have happened last summer, but it was moved to this summer, so we're hoping that it does take place in July 2023. So there will be some water in the pond, and the locals, but the residents of Stratford can enjoy this beautiful area, not only in winter, but in every season. Hopefully the sounds of skates in fresh ice will once again ring out in the air at Morris Pond once the cleanup is complete. So that is sustainability report. Thank you.
Thank you for your report. Any comments or questions?
Just one question, Mr. Councillor. So in terms of Switch as it currently is there any capacity left in the current round for any more work to be done in case people are reaching out to council or anything like that, just so I have a good idea?
Okay. Is Katie or Amy want to? I know what I want to say, but I'll let you, I'll let Jeremy talk.
I think the messaging that we've been talking with Pace Atlantic is that the program is pretty well at capacity now. They're still processing some applications, but most of them are already in, so we may be looking at what we can do to extend the program, but right now, it may be put on pause or stopped for the time being, but I think it pretty well is at capacity because it's a very popular program, and we have been talking to the province also about how we can collaborate with them in the future to continue on, but we are going to look to see if there is some additional funds, and there may be some discussion about private funding at some point, so that's where we are for now, but I think there's very little capacity left in the current program.
My understanding is that there is money for home energy assessments. My understanding was that those could continue if people wanted to just get that. That'll show you how you can save money, but the money for the actual retrofits is pretty well tapped out.
Yeah, the loan program itself is pretty well tapped out, but there is some administrative money that's left to administer the program, which would allow for continuation of the home assessments and such. And we're looking at how we can distribute those funds in the future, but we haven't quite come up with the terms of that program at this point.
Yeah, I think that's a great investment for a homeowner to find out how they can save money.
Certainly.
Just by getting a home energy assessment done, whether it's done through whatever the source of the money is, the funding is, whether it's private or whatever. I think it's good to know how you can save money with regard to energy refits.
It allows the residents to be much more prepared when they're dealing with contractors about exactly what has to be done in their homes. So,
yeah.
Yep.
If I can add one last thing too, the switch program, I think, in having a chance to talk to Julian in Ottawa, really clarified a couple things for me when I got to talk to him face to face. I did meet with him in one meeting that was online, but it's different when you do get to talk in person. But he has a fairly ambitious projection that he hopes is CAO of this company, and that's a $3.3 billion intake from this project. So right now, Newfoundland, Nova Scotia, New Brunswick, PEI is basically the only 4 provinces that are involved in the SWITCH program, or some people, it's called the PACE program, depends on how it's packaged. But right now, it's not in British Columbia, it's not officially in Ontario, it's not officially in any Western provinces, but there is a lot of places across Canada that are looking at it, and according to Julian, he's hoping that it'll come to fruition sometime in the next year and a half in most provinces. But he expects it to go across Canada fairly shortly. So big hats off to Atlantic Canada for us recognizing the importance of a program and jumping on this like we have.
Yeah.
And I think this speaks a lot about Atlantic Canada.
Yeah, I know there's a lot of interest at the Federation of Canadian Municipalities, the meetings I've been going to, and there's been a lot of municipalities that are mentioning PACE as they're studying it and looking at it. It would be a great national program.
Absolutely.
And if the federal government would contribute more to it, I think it could be a sustainable program as well with the right source of capital.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, any other comments or questions on the sustainability report? Okay, we'll now move on to Deputy Mayor Gallant, and I'll ask him to give the infrastructure report.
Thank you, Worship. Hurricane Fiona cleanup is ongoing with the town by both town hired contractors and provincial contractors. Well, the weather right now is great for cleanup, believe it or not, in March and in February, so on. Several infrastructure projects are progressing well and are on track for construction during the 2023 construction season. The waterfront boardwalk, the community campus site servicing project, Bunbury lift stations upgrades project are scheduled for tender in March. Kinloch Road multi-purpose path and the design and build of the second water reservoir are planned for award in March. Design work for the Curry's lift station upgrades project is ongoing. Staff is involved with review and coordination with the consultants to keep these projects on schedule. Upland planning and designs continue to work on the update of the active transportation master plan and host a pop-up public consultation booths Friday, March 3rd and Saturday, March 4th at the town, just this past weekend, at the town hall and Sulby Stratford location respectively. Infrastructure staff has been busy with the following: ongoing maintenance of town-owned properties and trails. Outdoor rink maintenance is ongoing. Clearing, salting, sanding, town walkways and parking lots ongoing. Regular maintenance of equipment is ongoing. Bylaw complaints, investigations are ongoing. Sewer and water infrastructure maintenance inspections ongoing on a daily basis. Water and sewer inspections and water turnoffs for new development is ongoing. The Welcome to Stratford sign at Mount Herbert Road has been scheduled for install before the end of March. The new sign there. The new tractor purchased under the 2022-23 capital budget has been delivered. Complaint, we had a complaint of a sewer gas smell at the Stratford Emergency Service Facility, was investigated and a small leak repaired. Sidewalk sweeping is tentatively scheduled for late March, pending weather. Sewer lift station cleaning is scheduled for early April. During the month of February, we had a water main leak. It was reported near the corner of Trans-Canada Highway and Kinloch Road. Staff were able to isolate the leak and resume service to the 4 customers affected by this leak. The City of Charlotte has agreed to help further pinpoint the leak with their ultrasonic leak detection device in the upcoming weeks. Once accurately located, the repair work will be coordinated with the Department of Transportation and minimize traffic disruptions. There was a sewer blockage reported at the Trans-Canada Highway, Brookside Drive, and intersection. The blockage was cleared quickly and was determined to have been caused by construction debris entering the system with a new development on McGregor Drive. The well was out of service at the pond side. Well field is now back online after replacement of the pumping motor. That's my report, Your Worship.
Any comments or questions on the infrastructure report?
I have a question, it's more curiosity, and I don't know if it's infrastructure, but the brush that's piled by the indoor soccer complex, what is this? What can I really don't know what it is, but I got asked every day, what's the plan with that site? I know, like, yeah. Jeannie, thank you.
The province and ourselves have been hauling some of the debris, the cleanup debris in there. So we're coordinating with the province and to arrange to have that cleaned out before the soccer gets back up and running in the spring, summer.
And is it being chipped and burned at the plant, or is it just being... If not, that's okay. I was just curious.
I honestly don't know what their plan is, to be quite frank. We had discussed and talked about having a chipper come in to chip it before they move it, but they may just haul it, load it all up and haul it away. Yeah, you're welcome.
Jeannie, I had a question too that maybe, and I had mentioned it previously. When we had the issue with the leak or the whatever had to be repaired on the Trans-Canada, and we were without power at that intersection, and the lights come back on and flash red and yellow.
Okay.
And I know this is likely a Department of Transportation thing, but I just noticed that happened twice. And as opposed to, like, sometimes you might approach after a power outage and every light is flashing red. And I noticed in this particular situation, it was yellow on Transcan, red coming off Kinloch, and the drivers seemed very confused by it. And I just wondered, is that typically how it comes back on there, or?
And you're right, it is the Department of Transportation, a question for them. I will follow up and find out. I'm not 100% sure if it's because it's the Trans-Canada Highway where they would get the right-of-way, so to speak, and that they wouldn't have it as a four-way stop, trying to keep traffic going through. Would be my guess, but I can find out for sure how.
It just
how
seems
they
to
go
create confusion
Yep,
because.
I agree, because when I drove through it, I was a little quite cautious and a little confused, yeah.
Yeah, the yellow doesn't necessarily,
Yeah,
like,
the
everyone
four-way
seems to
stop would seem
come.
to function better, for sure, yeah.
Yes.
No, I'll follow up on that.
Thank you.
Yeah, sure.
Go ahead.
Just have one question in relation to the sweeping. Councillor, I know you mentioned that sidewalk sweeping is being prepared to be done. Does that include streets as well that do not have sidewalks? I know in previous years I've seen it done. I'm not sure if it's consistent across all streets or...
So again, and not to point the fingers back to the province, but the sweeping on the streets is done by the Department of Transportation. So they will be out to do that, weather permitting, early spring, summer, I'm assuming. The sidewalks is what we would take on ourselves, the town, so that's, we can control that coordination.
Okay, that
Yeah.
makes sense. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other comments or questions?
I gotta add one small thing. I know the residents in my area there of Greenview Drive, Liam Drive, off the Stratford Road, after all the construction in the last few years down at the four-way stop with the Greenway subdivision there, and now the Garden Home subdivision on Stratford Road, and of course the townhouses on the other side of the four-way stop. But I know a couple residents stopped me and asked me, they find that especially like Greensview, Liam, some of these drives along that area, there's a lot of silt and a lot of just from what is come from the runoffs and different things, and they were asking if we could look at that, if we ever do like a street clean or whatever. And I said, I've been in council 84 days, so I don't know what you're talking about. So I said, we'll bring it forth, and that's a political answer, but maybe that is a good thing.
That's a good answer.
But I thought I'd just let you know that question did come up.
Was the comment related to on the street or on the
Yeah,
sidewalk?
on the street.
Right, yeah.
On the street, yeah, and that's a good point. On Greensview Drive, there's no sidewalk, like just a street there, but they were saying that Liam and Greensview especially, you know, over the years from the golf course and from all the buildings around and stuff, that there has been a lot of silt and just stuff on the streets, and I said, I will bring that point forward.
Yeah. And during development, the contractors are responsible for sweeping the streets, of course. Some do better jobs than others. But again, when the Department of Transportation gets out to do street sweeping through the spring, summer, hopefully some of that gets addressed, if not all of it.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Okay, so you'll mention the specific areas that have been reported?
Of concern?
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Yes, yes.
Thanks.
Have it noted, thanks.
Great. Okay, any other comments or questions? Okay, thank you for your report, Deputy Mayor. Okay, we'll now go to Committee of the Whole. And the minutes are there, and not sure, CEO Crosby, if we, I know that I'm looking at minutes here. I'm not sure which is closed and which is open, so I guess the minutes are in your package. If there's any comments or questions on the minutes. There is a resolution to be presented. I'll ask Deputy Mayor Gallant to read that, present or to move that.
Okay. CW 007-2023 Trias Transit Service Agreement Amendments. Moved by my Councillor Jody Jackson. I guess I'll move by myself, I guess.
Oh, sorry, I should ask Jody to move it, sorry.
Yep. Whereas the City of Charlottetown, the Town of Cornwall, and the Town of Stratford entered into a service agreement with TC Transit to deliver transit services to all three communities. Whereas this agreement was updated in 2015 with an option to renew for additional 2 10-year terms. Whereas part of the land purchase agreement with the City of Charlottetown, the operator requests an additional 10-year term to the agreement to provide security considering the considerable sale in their total business operations. Whereas in addition of the amendment above, clarity was added around financial reporting, improved communication, around fare box changes, and changes to the exit clause from 6 months to 1 year, which protects both sides. Being resolved, the Town of Stratford approve, sign, and adopt the amendments to the transit agreement with Trias Transit, the City of Charlottetown, and the Town of Cornwall, and the Mayor and the CEO are hereby authorized to sign the amended agreement. This resolution bears the recommendation of the Committee of the Whole based on a meeting held on February 22nd, 2023.
So moved.
So moved.
Seconder? Okay, I guess the only discussion, I guess we're in discussion now, but I just noticed paragraph 3, it's not really clear to provide security considering the considerable sale in their total business operations. I'm not sure what that means.
Yeah.
Is that a typo or is it a?
No. Part of the electrification of the system requires us to build a new facility, and the city of Charlottetown entered into an agreement with the transit operator to purchase part of their facility. But as part of that purchase, they asked that the agreement be looked at to give them greater certainty into the future, because they were selling off a fairly substantial part of their portion of their business. So we will be entering into an agreement with Charlottetown in the future, and ourselves in Cornwall, to lease our portion of that building, but we wouldn't own the building. We did have some conversations about this in the past, committee of the whole, but that's part of the reason for this just update to the agreement now. But this agreement will be opened up again once we electrify the system later in 2025. So it's just an interim agreement.
Okay, maybe it's just me, but just don't understand. To provide security considering the considerable sale in their total business operations. What does that mean?
So by increasing the term of the lease, or sorry, the term of the agreement by 10 years, it just gives them greater certainty that they will be the operator into the future.
Okay, so that's correct then.
Correct, yes.
Okay, I just don't understand it. Okay, that's just me. Okay,
I don't find it super straightforward, and it's not typical that we'd see considering the considerable. So I think it's just confusing. But you explaining it is.
If there's any amendments we want to make to the
just to
resolution, we can.
clarify that, I'm just not sure what it means, that's all. But I think you explained it, but I'm just not sure how it's reflected in that phrase. But anyway, if that's the way it's supposed to be, I'll accept it.
In all honesty, I took it from the resolution from the other two communities. They had the same.
Okay, so they passed exactly
But
the same.
not to say that it's totally
Maybe a
correct.
typo from the beginning.
But that's the explanation around it.
Sure.
You
Okay.
know.
All right, well, we've got moved and seconded. Any other discussion?
Just wanted to have consistency in our resolutions.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So.
Okay. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody against? Motion carried.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we'll now move on to Planning Development and Heritage Committee. And I'll ask Councillor Jeff McDonald to give the report.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. So just in terms of make sure everyone's on the same page, Sarah from Planning at 5:32 p.m. sent an email to Council and staff with an updated Town Council agenda. I just want to make sure that everybody's referring to that agenda when we're looking at planning and development. Just want to make sure everyone has that.
I believe the CAO is at the podium.
I was going to say the same thing. Once you click on the link, it'll come up with the agenda, but just over to the side, hit the split screen, and it'll come up the exact same as what you have. It's just there's a little bit of added additional information in the last half hour.
Yeah.
And that's just for the resolutions, eh?
That's just for the resolutions, yeah, insert in terms of the language there. So I just want to make sure that's before everybody. Never obviously want to be bringing things up at a last minute like this in terms of changing, but considering the amount of effort that's gone into this to this point, that's why really today.
If anybody has any trouble, let me know. I can come up and help you.
Yeah. So certainly it's been, I think it would be underselling things to suggest that the past few weeks have been very busy in the planning department. Certainly our planning staff has been very hard at work in terms of getting the two resolutions before you today to a point where we're able to discuss them at least at a first reading basis. I want to applaud and recognize the efforts of Sarah Kennedy and Dale McKeegan in our planning staff in getting these to this point. There has been, I would suggest, a lot of back and forth between planning, the CAO's office, as well as the proponents of these resolutions to get them to the point where we're able to at least have a beginning of a discussion here at Council's table. Now, before we get there, though, I guess that would be the main points of discussion, but I do want to go through the meeting from February the 27th. I wasn't present. I want to thank as well Mayor Ogden for stepping in and chairing that in my absence. I was on vacation at the time. But there is a few items for discussion in terms of those minutes that I want to talk about first before we get to the resolutions, if that's all right with everybody. So just one thing, in terms of our building permit summaries, you're going to see that we're getting a little bit more granular in terms of what information is going to be in terms of the building permit summaries going forward. That's to give us some better information about our different types of housing units that we have here in Stratford, and that's to conform with some of the information gaps that were provided in the Housing Supply Challenge that forms sort of the backbone of our Shape Stratford program. So hopefully that will give us a better understanding of the different types of units in terms of bedrooms and such, in terms of looking at what our housing mix it actually is in Stratford, so we can make some better informed decisions within the Shape Stratford working group, but as well when it comes time to considering further resolutions at the planning level. I want to provide a brief overview as well at number 8 in the minutes in terms of the subdivision applications. As you may or may not be aware, members of prior council are aware of this. There was a decision from the Island Regulatory and Appeals Commission in terms of the Landfest company's application in terms of Red and Meadows, I apologize. And so we here at the council as well as at planning are looking at getting something back in a few weeks' time on the subdivision plan. Certainly we'll keep you updated on that, but it looks like work is proceeding on that, and it'll be a few weeks, so I expect perhaps at the next planning meeting we'll be able to have a better discussion about that. Moving towards the resolutions that we have before you for consideration, there's been certainly a lot of background done. So what I propose to do at this point in time is to read the two resolutions, PH003 and PH004, and we can have a discussion. Now, both resolutions, being PH003 and PH004, they discuss the same subject matter, but come at it from two different perspectives, being the official plan as well as being the amendment to the zoning development bylaw. I'm wondering if it makes sense for everybody if I read both resolutions and we can have a single discussion on both, or do you want to proceed in a piecemeal fashion?
I think just before you do that, if you don't mind, could we entertain questions on the, or any discussion on the minutes or the permit summary?
Absolutely, and that's certainly fine. I didn't want to rush through things, but certainly wanted to focus as much as we could on
Sure, absolutely.
those things, but absolutely.
I just had a question on the permit summaries. There's $3.323 million, or $3.23 million in demolitions. Can you tell me what that's?
That is a misprint. I confirmed that today simply because it shouldn't be in there. We don't issue permits.
So Dale, I wonder if you could.
Yeah, for the people online, they can't hear.
I apologize. Yes, I confirmed that today, actually, Your Worship, that that is a misprint in the summary, simply because we don't issue permits for Maritime Electric and the work they do or any other type utilities. So you can basically remove that or eradicate that. That shouldn't be there. It's a misnomer, so it doesn't represent anything.
Okay.
Okay?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, sorry for the interruption. Go ahead.
Good question. Anything else from, in terms of the minutes, whether it's on Red and Meadows, whether it's on any of those items prior to the resolutions? Not hearing anything there. I'm just wondering if I could go back then to about just in terms of the procedure, if I read both resolutions and have a single discussion, or do we want to have two separate discussions?
I guess it might make sense to, is there anything procedurally, CEO Crosby, that we should consider? Is it just as valid to have one discussion about the two resolutions, if they're basically on the same subject, or is it necessary to have two separate resolutions read into the record and voted on?
As long as they're both read into the record, I think you can have discussion on both, but then you'll have to vote on both individually afterwards.
Okay, no, so that'd be okay to proceed that
Okay.
way.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, CEO Crosby. Okay, so at this time, I'll read into the record our two resolutions. First one being PH 003-23, Concord Properties Limited, bracketed the Gray Group, the Crossroads Urban Core Area Plan Official Plan Amendments, dated today and moved by myself as Chair of the Planning Board. And it reads as follows. Whereas an application has been received from Fathom Studio on behalf of Concord Properties Limited, being the Gray Group, for the Crossroads Urban Core Area Plan, requesting amendments to the Town of Stratford Official Plan, text and land use map. And whereas the proposed amendments to the official plan will require changes to designations on the land use map for mixed-use development in the town core area and policy changes in the official plan to support the implementation of the Crossroads Urban Core Area Plan. And whereas the proposed designations will comprise some different types of mixed uses to enable the two new zone classification in the bylaw are core mixed use and urban core zone. And whereas in accordance with the Stratford Zoning and Development Bylaw number 45, planning staff circulated a written notice being 280 letters sent on November the 3rd of the amendment request to all property owners within 150 meters being 490 feet of the boundaries of the subject property or properties, and placed multiple signs on the land being proposed for rezoning, indicating that a rezoning request has been received. And whereas planning staff received 53 response letters from residents with various concerns around shadow casting, infrastructure, environmental, and general concerns, and whereas in accordance with the Stratford Zoning and Development Bylaw number 45, an advertisement was placed in the Guardian newspaper on 2 occasions, November the 9th and 19th, 2022, and the media ad was also shared on the town's website, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and the town's weekly e-news to notify residents of a public meeting and to solicit input from residents on the proposed amendment request. And whereas a public meeting was held on November the 23rd, 2022 at the Stratford Town Center with approximately 73 people in attendance, whereby the Director of Planning introduced the application from the Gray Group, explaining the proposed amendment requests and the requirement for both text and map amendments to the Stratford Official Plan and Zoning and Development Bylaw number 45. Whereas representatives of the Gray Group, being Corey Gray, Chairman and CEO, Trevor McLeod, President, presented a video titled The Crossroads Urban Core Area Plan proposed for the Stratford Core Area. And whereas Trevor McLeod introduced the Gray Group's consultants Rob LeBlanc and Roger Boychuk from Fathom Studios, and referenced members of CBCL Limited and members of the Provincial Transportation Department, and presented details of the proposed development plan to the audience. And whereas during and after the presentations from Trevor, Rob, and Roger, the floor was open to a question and answer period whereby the developer responded to questions from the audience. Be it resolved then that the details of the proposed amendments are as follows. And the attached map is shown on the screen for clarity. Stratford Official Plan amendments. The Town of Stratford Official Plan is amended by the addition of the following immediately after subsection 4.2.5. 6. Stratford is a community that enables mixed-use development for various types of residential units in the town core area to meet current and future demands. To achieve this objective, we will A. Encourage an increase in the densification and intensification of residential development units in the form of vertical development to include increased building heights, thereby reducing the impacts of horizontal development on agricultural resource land on the outskirts of town. B. Support new zoning options based on concepts using mixed-use development and overall design standards such as, or similar to, form-based codes to create connected and livable spaces to work, live, and recreate. The addition of the following immediately after subsection 8.2.9. Stratford is a community with various watercourses located throughout the town requiring protection and preservation. To achieve this objective, we will A. Limit sprawl development into vacant land areas by encouraging the densification and intensification of residential development units in the form of vertical development in the town core area. B. Ensure proposed concept and final plans include required building setbacks from watercourse buffer areas and professional stormwater management plans show siltation control measures, siltation and other mitigation measures to control runoff. The amendment of subsection 11.2.1.c as follows. Current, support and encourage mixed-use development in the core area. Proposed amendment to add the following. Support and encourage mixed-use development in the core area with consideration given to designating specific zones to encourage intensification and densification in the form of vertical development and an increase in building heights. The amendment of subsection 12.2.2.1 as follows. Currently, create an inventory of land available for housing and ensure there is enough land available to support long-term growth or determine whether we need to restrain growth. Proposed amendment by including the following. Create an inventory of land available for housing, ensure there is enough land available to support long-term growth, or determine whether we need to restrain growth or redefine growth by how and where it will occur through densification and intensification. There's then amendments to our official plan, Schedule B. They are numbered 1 through 11. I'm not sure for the purposes of the record whether I have to read in all of the amendments to the PIDs, but I can do so.
Not sure, I don't think you need to read it to that level of detail.
Okay, and then the effective date would be as signed by the various signatories. So that is our first resolution. I'll read the second resolution at this time as well, which is PH 004-2023, being Concord Properties Limited. This is the first reading to amend our zoning and development bylaw number 45. That is moved by myself and it reads as follows. I just want to make sure I've got it. Whereas an application has been received from Fathom Studio on behalf of Concord Properties Limited, the Grey Group, for the Crossroads Urban Core Area Plan, requesting an amendment to the Town of Stratford Zoning and Development Bylaw number 45. And whereas the proposed amendment will require changes to the zoning map to add 2 new zone classifications and the addition of those 2 new zones in the bylaw to support the implementation of the Crossroads Urban Core Area Plan. And whereas the proposed 2 new zone classification to be inserted in the bylaw are core mixed-use zone and urban core zone, whereby both zones uniquely permit buildings with commercial uses on the first floor and residential units on the remaining floors, core mixed-use zone up to 60 feet or 6 stories, and the urban core zone up to 130 feet or 12 stories. And whereas to accommodate the 2 new zones, current parking provisions will not be required. Instead, new parking standards on the 2 new zones will be required for underground parking and surface parking to accommodate new development. And whereas, in accordance with the Stratford Zoning and Development Bylaw, planning staff circulated written notice being 280 letters sent on November the 3rd of the amendment request to all property owners within 150 meters, 490 feet of the boundaries of the subject property or properties, and placed multiple signs on the land being proposed for rezoning, indicating that a rezoning request has been received. And whereas planning staff received 53 response letters from residents with various concerns around shadow casting, infrastructure, environmental and general concerns, and whereas in accordance with the Stratford Zoning and Development Bylaw, an advertisement was placed in the Guardian newspaper on 2 occasions, being November the 9th and 19th, 2022, and the media ad was also shared on the town's website, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and the town's weekly e-news to notify residents of a public meeting and to solicit input from residents on the proposed amendment request. And whereas a public meeting was held on November the 23rd, 2022 at the Stratford Town Center with approximately 73 people in attendance, whereby the Director of Planning introduced the application from the Grey Group, explaining the proposed amendment requests and the requirement for both text and map amendments to the Stratford Official Plan and Zoning and Development Bylaw number 45. And whereas representatives of the Grey Group, being Corey Gray and Trevor McLeod, presented a video of the Crossroads Urban Core Area Plan proposed for the Stratford Core Area. And whereas Trevor McLeod presented the Grey Group's consultants, Rob LeBlanc and Roger Boychuk from Fathom Studios, and referenced members of CBCL Limited, members of the Provincial Transportation Department, and presented details of the proposed development plan to the audience. And whereas during and after the presentations from Trevor, Rob, and Roger, the floor was open to a question and answer period, whereby the developer responded to questions from the audience. Be it resolved then that the details of the proposed amendments are as follows. and they are as found on, in terms of a visual description, found presently there. All of the, just give me one moment here. My copy seems so cut off. I just got to open up. I think I have to reopen this. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm going to read from Mr. Mayor's copy because his is. Be it resolved that the details of the proposed amendments are as follows. An attached map is there for clarity. All of the proposed amendments are as found in your package. Now, there's quite a bit to read there. I'm wondering in terms of the record if it's sufficient if we refer to the bylaw number 45M and the proposed additions to that, or whether the entirety of the bylaw needs to be read with the additions. I say no, but I'll ask. Okay, so no. So I just want to make sure, though, that all of you have the proposed amendments in front of you in terms of bylaw number 45. Yes? Okay.
I think the only thing that, when you were reading it, you mentioned that about the parking provisions. I guess it's paragraph 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yes.
My version is different, and I just want to make sure the correct one. So is the correct one the one that was read into the record?
That's the most up-to-date one.
That's the most up-to-date one.
That's
Okay, so mine isn't correct then. Okay, that's fine.
Sorry, Mr. Mayor.
No, that's
Yeah.
okay. No, that's fine. And also that the resolution bears the recommendation of the Planning Development Heritage Committee as discussed at a meeting held on January 30th, 2023.
Yes, and that should also, I would suggest, say as well as on March 7th, 2023 as well.
Okay. So,
Just the 30th.
Just the 30th? Okay, I didn't know if that was an official one on the 7th as well. Okay, thank you.
any other, sorry, so you're moving that?
I would move it at this point.
So you're moving, okay, so we're going to talk about the first resolution. We're going to move both of them, and then we'll have, and second them, and then we'll have the discussion on both of them, and then vote on them individually.
Thank you.
Okay, so for Resolution PH 003-23, the amendments to the core area plan, official plan amendment, you moved that.
I would move.
Is there a seconder for that motion? Do we have a seconder?
I'll second the motion.
Okay, thank you. Okay, and for PH 04-2023, amendments to the Concord urban core area plan.
That one, 004, is an amendment to our zoning development bylaw.
Okay. Yeah, they're both the same on mine, or they're different on yours. Okay.
They should be, number 3 should be an amendment to our official plan. Number 4 should be an amendment to our zoning development bylaw.
Okay, so you're moving 004-2023 as well?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, so do I have a seconder for that motion? Thank you. Okay, so now we'll have discussion on both motions to the official plan and to the bylaw. Any comments or questions for planning staff or Councillor McDonald?
What I might ask at this point in time, Mr. Mayor, is if it's okay with council, unless there's any burning questions, I might call on Dale, who's here from planning, to provide some, I guess, some more up-to-date information in terms of more recent developments about some of the changes to the amendments prior to their first reading, just to provide a more of an update and an overview before we launch into any questions. If that's okay, Dale? Yep.
I guess the best way to approach this is to look at what some concerns the residents had at the public meeting going forward. And as Councillor McDonald had mentioned, there were a number of ones of concerns. Probably the one that stood out the most was the shadow cast from the buildings on Shakespeare Drive across the road to the existing buildings that were there. So in saying that, the CAO, myself, and Sarah met with Rob LeBlanc and discussed this in quite a bit of detail. And we ended up with a nice result, we feel, in that they've reduced the height from the larger 12-story building roughly down to a 5-story building along that whole street venue, along Stratford Road, right to the end where it shows.
3-story, isn't it? They moved it down.
It's 5. It's gone from 37 meters to 15 meters, so that's 5-story. Yeah, 5-story first.
Yeah. So that's a significant drop. If you look at the buildings that are currently there, we had concerns with the shadow casting. They have 3 stories. It looks like the elevation is probably almost another story, so they're probably close to 3.5, 4 stories. So there's going to be some symmetry along the Stratford Road, which is what we were seeking all along. Shakespeare Drive, sorry.
Just before we go any further, is there a way to show that screen on our screen sharing so we can demonstrate that?
I can show you.
Thank you.
While Dale's getting this, we should mention, like, the proposed was 12 stories right on the corner, which is there. As you can see where 15 is now, right, little turn there. It's right across the condos. 194 Shakespeare Drive to 204 especially were affected in what is lot 882084, and especially the building that was called Building R. And but if you look at the 12-story building, which really can be a 13-story building because you're allowed to put a penthouse. If it only is 30% of the roof, you're allowed, which really is a 13th story. And then they talked about green space up there, that you could have a green space up there, which would or most likely would not be able to be used by most of the tenants. So in essence, a person, if they had a penthouse, could control that green space. In essence, they would control 60% of the rooftop if it was deemed that way. So in reality, you have a person with a green space and a 30% penthouse on the top, which we have to call a 13th floor because that's what it is. So in reality, it's fairly significant if it's right up front. So I think what happened, and Dale was instrumental in the planning staff with talking to Rob, who did, I thought, a great job last night, very, very informative. But I think this was really, you know, I think it was really a lot of hard work done by the Stratford staff, and I'm glad that the Gray Group listened to our recommendations, and that was really nice to see that last night. It's really good. Sorry, Dale.
No problem. So as we were saying, this area along here, where am I at here with this? Yes, along here has been reduced in height significantly, which is almost creating a separate zone, so to speak, to accommodate that, because that zone of the UC zone does allow for 12 stories. So to drop it down to that height means the developer really listened to what the concerns were, and that's admirable on their behalf. So as you can see, there's different levels through here for the heights for buildings. They've made some adjustments to some of those stories. But the primary one we're concerned about was the one along here, the Shakespeare Drive, because there are some single stories here and 3 stories along here as well. So we're very pleased with that result.
Okay, any other comments or questions before we, so it's been moved, each resolution?
I have a few things to add. I think just at this point, in terms of where we're at with this, and in terms of procedural, I guess, next steps, I think it's important to state for the record at this point in time that this is only a first reading of both of these bylaw amendments, or amendment to our bylaw and amendment to our official plan. I think it's important to recognize that the first reading it's just really an introduction of these proposed amendments in terms of the formal legislative process. Certainly pursuant to the Municipal Government Act as well as our own procedural bylaw, Council may, and I fully expect this to happen, will amend and can amend proposed bylaws after a first reading. Already there has been substantial changes, as noted by Dale, as well as substantial discussions, as noted by Councillor Cox. Before we even got into this first reading process, this has certainly been a collaborative and iterative process. I fully expect that to continue moving forward. This is by no means necessarily suggesting that both of these proposed amendments are the final form of the amendments to either the official plan or our planning and development bylaw. I just want to make sure that that's absolutely clear, that this is not the end of the road for either of these resolutions, I would suggest. That in mind, I'm certainly, and I think Dale's here to answer any questions or concerns that we have at this point in time.
I also like to add some more information, if you don't mind.
Yes.
In dealing with Rob, who's been very accommodating, and he and Sarah have talked extensively on the standards, and there's been a lot of changes made to the standards. Primarily, the concern was some of the connectivity that was in the existing areas. Some of it wasn't connecting through the new zones, so we made sure that sidewalks and trails and things like that and green spaces were being addressed, and connectivity was there, so there's no void along the line with any of these kind of services. So there was significant discussion and significant work to make sure everything was in harmony and working together so that we have a continuous pattern of development and activities and things like that that are going to service people from end to end. Okay.
So is this vote tonight, is that going to mean that for this areas, for those zones, we'll have what's called form-based codes, or which will substitute for development agreements for developers proposing new construction in these zones?
I'll let Dale answer that.
Yes, the conventional zoning, which we currently have now in our bylaw, does basically prompt, when needed, development agreements, which are very legal instruments, but they're very cumbersome to develop as well, and it takes a few parties to be involved sometimes. With the form-based codes, basically you're creating an urban form. You're not just looking at a permitted use as we have in our current bylaw. The urban form looks at the form of the building, the activity between the streets, and other activities along the streetscape. So it looks at all the aspects that go into the development to make sure they work together and they have activities throughout, and green spaces, sidewalks, all those things that you'd want to have. Form-based codes provides in their standards, whereas we don't have to go through things traditionally looking at conditions the way we typically do. So that list of standards will take care of all the things that will basically guarantee the outcome or the product, so that all the aspects or all the elements of planning and development are taken care of. In saying that, then it becomes a situation where the development officer would have the authority to go forward and to approve or deny based on a checklist of those standards. Once all those standards are checklisted off by the development officer.
Can you put them up on the screen, some of that list of standards?
I don't know if I can access that. I don't know if I have that access to this on this one.
Anyway, we looked at it last night. It's very
Yeah,
comprehensive.
it is very comprehensive, and it's meant to be comprehensive, to take care of all the concerns and to ensure that all the aspects are being dealt with. So when the application comes in, the development officer would then go through all the checklist, and if all the checklist meets the standards, then it'll be an automatic approval based on the site plan approval. And there's a process in the new bylaw section that shows all that information.
So can you give some examples of things that would be covered, exterior?
Yeah, it could be the exterior, it could be the the sidewalks, it could be vegetation. So everything that you would look at in the standard site plan that you would look at individually and either agree with or have conditions set aside in the standard bylaw, these site conditions in the site plan show all those on the site. And they're all labeled, and they all have a clear identification of what they are. It makes it easier for the development officer to go through that and do the checklist on each and every one of them. So at the end of the checklist performance, the permit could be issued.
So is it something in your view that will allow more housing to be put in place faster?
And you say housing, you're talking residential units, not your typical houses, so to speak, but both zones do allow for different forms of more dense development. So yes, it definitely would promote that. And it would make it easier, as opposed to going through process after process with planning board and council. We would then, saying planning board or development officer, then would have the ability to checklist everything in order to approve it.
And councils now and into the future, like this, once this is approved, that's going to be the way going forward. It's going to become as of right to build if it meets those standards. But in terms of those standards, this council and future councils can change those standards or add or delete to those, right?
That's correct. They have the ability to go in, if something's not performing the way council wants it, they have the ability to go in there and make amendments to correct it.
Okay. Any comments or questions? Go ahead. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Councilor Dallin.
If you go through the amendment that's attached, the chart and everything is in there, and all the information with regard to the elevations, the colors, the setbacks, it's all included in the amendment. I mean, we could read through some of that information if you wanted to, but it's all in there indicating what you're looking for as far as the tables and everything, if you click on the second amendment there.
Okay, so that'll be available to the public as part of the agenda package? Okay. And this is first reading, so if it is approved, there will be an opportunity for further consideration before it goes to second reading and adoption, eh?
You indicated considerable. There'd be a chance for some amendments. I don't know if there'd be considerable amendments.
Consideration, I mean, whether or not it goes forward.
Yes, absolutely. Yep.
Yeah.
There's a very good chance that we'll be doing some tweaking for the second reading as well. So it won't be major, just be tweaking things that'll make it, fine tune it, make it more clear, so, and that's standard.
Okay. Okay, any other comments or questions?
Your Worship, just a comment, like form-based development is not a new concept, and is used in several other communities, including some that are relative to the size of Stratford. It is new to Stratford. It's very comprehensive change in the approach that we'd be taking to development in relation to densification in one particular area for now, which could possibly extend to other areas as well if council and the citizens over time are satisfied with how the core area develops. And as Councillor McDonald stated, and you just reiterated now, this is a process, a first reading. There's a lot of material that we still have to, speaking for myself, that I still have to get a firm grasp on as we proceed through the process to the point of whether we ratify it or not. And but I think it's a very exciting concept. It'll enable a tremendous amount of development and development in the form of densification, which is really something that would have to take place if we're going to increase in population, the numbers and business structures that we anticipate and would like to have in the community, which in turn is going to provide greater degrees of revenue with which to develop communal infrastructure in the community. So you know, I'm in support of this first reading, and I'm interested in any changes that staff see along the way, and I'm also interested in any further comments that we receive from residents as they view this process as we follow through it from this evening onward. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, if there's no other comments or questions,
I just want to add one.
oh yeah, no, go ahead, sorry.
One small thing, 'cause this is, for Ron and myself, this is our ward, that this is happening, and so we really do want residents, especially when it came to the condos, 194 to 204, or 198 to 204, where this is happening in the, a lot of this is Ward 1 area, that we want to make sure that they know that they can come to us and still bring their voice forward. And as a new counselor, like, this is really quite a daunting, I mean, this is quite a big deal, and something you have to take fairly serious, and it's very overwhelming. And I could read for the next 3 months and still not get a full grasp on everything that's taking place. There's a lot of stuff here, but I want to commend our staff, not only our CAO, obviously, but also Dale, the planning group that you guys I think you've done a really great job, and you've really made this. Anytime I've come to you to ask you a question about this, you really put it in very simple terms and explained this to me, what was happening, and you're always everybody in the planning staff was very good to answer any questions that I know I had, and I'm sure other councillors had questions too. So I commend that, because this is quite a lot to be put on you, especially when you're kind of coming back into position and taking on a lot of stuff yourself. And so I just want to commend you for your commitment and coming back on board and tackling this, because that's not the easiest thing, and you could have said no. So I'm glad you didn't, and want to thank you.
Well, thank you, I appreciate that. It's exciting for me as well. I mean, I'm winding up my career, so to speak, in the next few years, and it's nice to have a project of this magnitude to end with, kind of thing. So I'm very excited about it.
Well, thank you very much.
Sorry, Councillor.
Go ahead if you.
I was just going to clarify, I did express that it's new to Stratford. It's new to Stratford as far as the development itself. Concept-wise, I understand this has been present within the community for a number of years, not just in relation to the Grey Group, but the objective of a central component within the community, a downtown, as it were. So that aspect of it is not new to the community. The actual development would be.
Certainly, thank you.
Thank you, Your Worship. Is there a time limit? I have a lot of questions. I stayed up late last night after our meeting, trying to understand these form-based codes and the impact. And I do appreciate the work that's gone on by the staff. And so my understanding, and this, I believe this to be correct, is this is just the area owned, Concord properties, both sides of the highway owned by the Grey Group. And so I just wanted to start off, I was here in November for the presentation. I fully support the idea of where we're going with this plan. It's, I think, kind of a lack of planning as a town. We never knew we were going to be this big. That's not a knock on anyone in the past. Well, I've been here before too, and so we have what we have. We have this area that needs to be developed. We have a group who wants to do it the right way, and I appreciate that. I understand these form-based codes will apply to this area only. It will expedite the approval process, and it will be just based to staff. And obviously, we'll reduce application costs for the developer. Makes sense. We want to facilitate development for sure. It does provide for higher quality development and predictable results, which we're all about. We need some consistency, especially in that core downtown area where it's been a mishmash of a whole lot of stuff. And like I said, we are where we are because of a lack of planning, and not a knock on anyone. We never knew. We just had a highway and Ronnie Peters SO in a few places, and it just became what it's been. I am concerned, though, with removing the council and the public from the consultation or the approval process. I know that things can get dragged out a long time. So I struggled with this overnight and this morning, just around that, but I understand if standards are set up and folks do meet those, then there is no reason to not approve it, especially if planning, if planning board recommends something and it meets all the parameters, then we should approve it. We have no mechanism to just, do it on a whim or on a feeling. So I think that does provide a lot more structure for us. The use of the more expensive, higher-end building materials is great, and if that works in this development, that's excellent. The removal of the parking, I know that parking will still be a part of this, Dale, but that's something where I do see where it does intentionally or unintentionally set up two sets of rules for development in the town. One for this area, other mixed-use areas, there's not a lot left. Those folks will have to go through the whole process and the public meetings and all of those things. So I think if this is the way that things should go, I'd like to see us entertain the idea of looking at the other mixed-use areas, talk to the folks who are in those around that, because I think we want to, these folks invested heavily in this town, especially the ones involved with this one. They've done a terrific job. Everything they've set their mind to has been well done. No reason to think this won't be. We have other developers in the town, especially on the waterfront, who've done an excellent job and have gone through all the hoops and the public meetings and heard a lot of feedback from folks on colors and styles and all the things. And so I think if we're serious about this and we believe this is the way, I think we should consider that. So I am still concerned about balancing out that facilitating development with the public oversight. And I guess, Dale, am I right? And I heard from some of the others, if this for some reason doesn't work, we're not kind of tying the hands of future councils to say that they can't make adjustments to this. Because I do worry about that. I mean, and the public consultation is good. That's why we are here. They vote us in, vote us out. I think it's important. I think it can tie things up a lot. So if there's a set of standards and everyone, public developers are all aware, then I think that makes a lot of sense. It's a change for us, though, for sure. So communication has to be central here. It's somewhat disappointed that we only got the presentation yesterday. I know I couldn't make planning. We've been invited, not that we haven't been invited to planning meetings, but it was kind of tough to get my head around it last night. But again, that's not anyone's fault but mine. So just with those said, I'm in favor of first reading, providing first reading, but I think we have some other considerations to think about here and how we facilitate development in other areas. In similar, not to this scale, but in similar instances. So I will be in favor. I do have some hesitation and want to make sure there is some mechanisms in there for future councils if this doesn't work, but I believe will, that they have some way of straightening it out.
Amending it.
Yeah.
So, Councillor Jackson, I fully join you in your suggestion that after this process or concurrently or alternatively or in any other fashion, we also commit to looking at some other areas of the town that may benefit from the same types of amendments that we're looking at here, perhaps not the same scale, same density, but also, again, considering the challenges that this town's going to face over the next few years and next decades to come, that, as a responsible council, we have to look at what's in the best interest of the town going forward and always looking at what's the best use of each zone of land we have within the town limits. So, I think, I'm certainly not speaking for everybody, but I imagine that would be top of mind for most people here.
And just one other thought to that. I know we've heard a lot about affordable housing over the years. Higher end development to me does not kind of lend itself so much to affordable housing, although when we saw the presentation, I know there's all types of housing in there, so I have faith in that. I just a little concerned. know that things will go well. Just hope we can adjust if for some reason they don't. That's all. I appreciate the time. Thank you.
Okay, I think we've heard from just about everybody. One of the things that's really important about this vote is that we all, I think everybody pretty well has, I believe Councillor Chandler, we need to, because this decision tonight could be appealed either way, whether it's for or against, we really want to make sure that we give our reasons for our positions and grounded in, as you know, Councillor Jackson and others have indicated, you know, from the Planning Act and from planning principles and some of the arguments that have been put forward here tonight, that we look at, if we're for it, you know, that's fine. If we're against it, that's fine as well. But just give reasons on how you're going to vote on each of the resolutions. And I think, Councillor Dowling, you've given your reasons for your position, and I think Councillor Cox has as well. Councillor Jackson has, and I believe you have Councillor McDonald.
If it's at all unclear, my position is I will be voting in favor of approval of first reading at this point in time on both resolutions. The main reason being that it is, from my perspective, upon review of the documentation and the proposals, to be the highest and best use of the land identified in the two zones.
Thank you. So, Councillor Chandler, I guess it's you're being asked to just state your position and your reasons for your position, and then we'll have the vote.
I have similar concerns, I guess, as Council Member Jody Jackson expressed. And again, I would like to communicate that I do support the development. I do support the density. I have been in favor of this always. When I campaigned on the doors, I am supportive of the initiatives and the vision of the town. That being said, and I guess when I spoke yesterday after the presentation, we are new councillors. We were elected on November 7th. The presentation from the Grey Group was on November 23rd. We weren't even sworn in yet. We've had a lot of new things that we've learned. It's been a very steep learning curve. The last 2 or 3 weeks have been heavy in meetings on various topics with budgets, etc. And we are doing the best we can. And I think most of us take our roles here very seriously in that we want to make good and sound decisions. So I'm not opposed. I trust in Dale and all of the staff. At the same time, I don't like to feel rushed if I don't understand concepts fully. So again, that's on me. But even in this process in the last 24 hours, the presentation, the agenda package, the revisions, the movement, etc., I would like to spend more time on it. So I'm not going to vote against it, but I am going to promise to ask the questions that I need answered prior to the next reading.
Okay, any other comments or questions before we call for the question for, I guess, Resolution P-H-003, 2023? Any comments or questions before we vote? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Those against? Motion carried. Okay, we'll now vote on Resolution PH-004-2023, and this is a changes to the bylaw. So, all those in favor? Aye. Those opposed? Motion carried. Okay, that was a really good discussion, thank you, and I think that whichever way this goes next time, I think everyone has really taken the time and done their hard work necessary to make a decision in the best interest of the town. So thank you all very much for that. Okay, we'll now move on to I guess my area, and I don't have my phone. I guess I'll do it from memory, Wendy. There was no meeting of the Accountability and Engagement Committee in the last month. We only meet every 2 months. However, there are several things that I'd like to make people aware of. First of all, in terms of the survey, the resident survey has been distributed. It's been on social media. It's been on it's on our website, or the information's on our website, and it's been mailed to every household in Stratford. And I'd just like to remind everyone that it's open till the 14th? 13th, the 13th, this coming Monday. So I'd really encourage everyone to really look at that. The input of residents is really important in the decisions we make. That guidance is invaluable. This is we always have a really high response rate, and I hope this year is no exception. So really encourage everyone to complete that survey and really take the time to help make your community better. I have a great memory, Wendy, but it's short.
I think we've hit on the other couple things that I had mentioned. The draft budget we've already talked about tonight, and the deadline on Tuesday at noon to respond to that one. And the Shape Stratford, Councillor McDonald mentioned that, but tomorrow night we have our first community conversation from 6:30 to 8:30, sort of open house, drop-in style, and just really encourage residents to come out and have that initial conversation with us on that project. And I think kind of what we're talking about tonight perhaps even jumps into that a little bit, and we'll maybe encourage some residents to come out and have some more of those conversations. Those were the things.
Thank you very much. I think the Shape Stratford one tomorrow night is one that I would really encourage people to get out and give their input, and also to learn about the initiative. And it is something that has a potential to really be of great benefit to not only Stratford, but the province and the country, because it is we're trying to develop a model for development that will enable housing to be put in place faster, but also involve residents early on in decision making, but to have that conversation with residents in terms of how we can do that. So that's my report. Any comments or questions on my report? If not, we'll move to human resources. Anything new in human resources? I guess we've already reported on the finance person.
The only other thing is we have a planning clerk that's, the resumes are due tomorrow, so we'll be looking at those resumes, and hopefully we'll be able to get the interviews done quickly and get someone in to help out in that department. And then eventually we'll be looking at some other positions once the budget is voted on and passed.
Yeah, I think that's something, the planning area and the finance area are two areas that are really under the gun in terms of resources and demand. You know, there's so much demand on that in that area, and both areas that we really need to be able to provide the services to residents that they need.
I was involved in the financial coordinator interviews, and I'm really excited about the individual who's coming on board. Very sharp. You know, the recommendations from the employers where he's at now were excellent. So I think we're in good shape there. So hopefully we'll have the same type of luck with the planning side of it too.
That's great.
Yep.
Good to hear.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Number 18 is inquiries by members of council. Is there anything that anyone would like to inquire about that we haven't discussed? Any subject at all? If not, we'll go to other committees. Stratford Seniors Complex. I'll ask Deputy Mayor Gallant to give his report.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'll start with the meeting. We had the first meeting together, and of course, Steve, you were there on February 14th with the committee. Went over really well, and this is my first meeting with the committee, and right off the bat, Kim, she's got everything in order with this community senior complex. Just does a fantastic job, and we're lucky to have her there with the committee. We had some business arise from the minutes. We have stuff sent out, interior and exterior maintenance being done, and staff financial reports. Everything's done up to date, checks and so on. capital projects for 2023 are all in order. We're looking at, like, for instance, watertight for walk-in showers for 10 units, nylon carpet strips for hallways, and it's always something there, but it's updates, and nothing's getting left, not being fixed or so on, so it's a great investment for our community. Then we had the, let's go down the report here. The tenants have moved into the 2-bedroom unit that was vacated in the beginning of January. Steve Thompson took over from Kim's dad there, Jerry, and has been hired for a new maintenance position. Quotes were received for capital work in the seniors complex, and kitchen cabinets have been ordered from Kent Building Supplies. Hallway and common room carpet have been ordered from Markin, and there are currently right now 22 people on the waiting list. So it's around the meeting that day, everything's just so well organized, and we're on top of things, and just moving forward. It's just a cliche there, but it's Kim and is doing a fantastic job there now with Stephen Thompson, now our new maintenance person. So everything's in order, Your Worship.
Yeah, I'd like to also express our appreciation to Jerry O'Connell, as you said, Kim's dad, for all the great work he's done over the years for keeping that complex in good shape. So really wish him well in his retirement, and hope he's enjoying the sun down south right now. Yeah, good. Okay, any comments or questions on Deputy Mayor's report? If not, we'll thanks for your report.
Thank you, Worship.
Yeah, we'll go to appointments to committees. Any other appointments? Any new appointments? No? Okay. No proclamations. Any other business anyone would like to bring to the table at this point?
I got a small thing. Sorry. But I'm inundated, maybe you are too, a lot of emails, so much stuff going on. We had 3 meetings yesterday. I just wondering, this may be the wrong place, but once again, it's my 85th day, so I can make a mistake. But I just wondered, maybe sometimes if we can just not hit reply all and just hit reply to the person. I don't care if you don't like a coffee mug that's yellow. I just want, if you can just reply to the person. I just find, sometimes I look at 4 things would be people replying all. And to me, it just seems like it's the less thing I got to delete. And sometimes I'm deleting 30 things, going through them. I'm just trying to get my time here. It just seems like we're very busy.
I'll send out an email to remind everybody.
And I'll reply to all too.
And reply all to it. Okay. Thank you.
Thanks. On that note, any other business?
I thought you were going to talk about that project you were talking about too, with the Greenway and so on.
Yeah.
I thought you were talking about that.
Talk briefly. I talked to Jeremy about it, and I just sort of, when we were up in Ottawa, I guess the thought came to me, and I actually met with Roger Nicholson 2 days ago, and Charlie McDonald and a couple of people. But I just thought all the builds that are over here now. There's when I was talking to Roger Nicholson, he's the from the Greenway. He's the chief manager or the central manager of that project. He was talking to me about how much stuff they're tossing away. They really don't have time to take it to over to Habitat for Humanity or whatever. And if a board's 4 feet long or less, it's tossed easily. If a board has a bunch of nails in the end of it, it's tossed, because rather than get somebody to take the nails out of it, it's tossed. So my thought was, as a town, we could look at, in the future, constructing a building. We might even be able to make the building out of the material that's thrown away from all these projects. And it would be really neat to have a building that's even 14 by 20 that was totally created by materials that were normally going to be thrown out. And in this building, we could store shingles, wood, tieback, all kinds of things in there, which would help us for our next time we have a hurricane or any kind of thing where some people maybe didn't have proper insurance or whatever could come and get some materials to help them. The materials could also be used by our youth center to make projects, be it flower boxes, be it little sort of lean-tos that cover generators or cover outside fans used from heat pumps. And of course, all the wood and all the materials would be free, so it'd be a great project for our youth center. And plus, with the community bursary program, when we have the high school built here, community bursary program will pay students $5 an hour up to $1,500. And so we could have students come from the high school over here, volunteer a couple hours, maybe 4 to 6 o'clock, or Saturday mornings along with our seniors. So it wouldn't cost us very much as far as having people hired to have to run the facility. So I just thought it's a chance. When I talked to Roger, he said he would love to have a place over here where they could take supplies and drop it off. And we could deem it for different people, for either youth group or for residents who could use this to help restore, especially when there's a hurricane or tropical storm, et cetera. So I just thought it'd be really neat, especially if we built this out of the materials. It'd be really a neat showcase to show other municipalities about how we not only do we save this from going to the waste area, we actually make something out of it that we're going to store future products in.
Great idea. Thanks for sharing that.
Okay.
Okay, I just thought of one thing that I wanted to mention to everybody. I did welcome the Premier this morning to Stratford. He was going through to make an announcement about the medical homes and the concept and the fact that they're going to be able to have, you know, the medical homes as a model for sort of going some way towards solving some of the problems of healthcare. But on that subject, we are meeting with the candidates for Stratford, and I want to meet with every candidate and let them know what Stratford's priorities, and any councillors welcome to come to those meetings as well if you're available, because I think it is valuable to sensitize them to what our issues are and also inform them about what our priorities are. So that's going to be happening between now and the election. So it's just another thing. I know it's a busy time, but I think it's really important that we get our message out there before the election. Any other business before we close? Motion for adjournment? Thank you. We're adjourned. Thank you.